Hi everyone, I'm Yasha, and welcome to the 16th episode of Election Scoop. Today we're going to be discussing the elections held in Texas. Now we're doing Texas today because, even though we want to do every state, Texas has held its primaries first. It held it last Tuesday. And so we're going to discuss the primary, but mostly the general elections for each state as they hold their primaries. So, while we'll be discussing a little bit on the primaries, we'll mostly be focusing on analysis of the general election for each state. So first we start off with Texas. The only important thing about the primaries that happened in Texas were current U.S. Representative from El Paso, Beto O'Rourke, has been selected to face U.S. Senator Ted Cruz in the U.S. Senate race that's going to be held this year. That's really the only important thing held in the primaries, so now let's dive in and look at what congressional districts Democrats are looking to gain and what Democrats and Republicans need to do to ensure the best outcome possible for the state of Texas. So this right here is the Lone Star State, all 254 counties, and this is a map of, and I apologize for all the other congressional districts in the background, this is a map of the congressional predictions for Texas. Now the one district that almost everybody agrees is going to be the most competitive this year is this big guy in purple, the 23rd district. The incumbent is Republican Representative Will Hurd, who won his first election in 2014 by just 2 points, defeating the incumbent Democrat. And in 2016, the last election cycle, he won by just 1 point as Hillary Clinton carried the district. Now looking at this, you might be a little confused because it's rural, you'd think it's Republican, so how is it competitive? Well, two main reasons. First off, it contains some of the suburbs of El Paso and San Antonio, and so there's a lot of Democratic suburban support there. And second, as you can see here, some of these really rural counties are Democratic because, being along the border with Mexico, they have a lot of Hispanics that vote generally Democratic. This includes Democratic counties such as Presidio, Culberson, and Reeves, and even Republican counties like Hudspeth, Jeff Davis, and Brewster have a large Democratic base in Hispanics. For example, in 2008, Brewster voted Democratic. In 2004, a whole slew of counties, Culberson, Reeves, Brewster, voted Republican. So that is one situation in which we're looking at in the 23rd district. We have no idea how that's going to turn out. So let's move on to some Republican-leaning turf, but still competitive. First up is the 7th district, right here in the suburbs of Houston. Hillary Clinton won this district by 1 point, so small margin, but incumbent Republican John Culberson won by 13 points in 2016, and that's what differentiates this seat from the 23rd. In this one, the Republican has won by a much larger margin than our friend Beto O'Rourke won, and so we're not ready to call it a toss-up yet. Likewise, the other seat that we're looking at is the 32nd district, another suburban district, but this time a suburb of Dallas. Right here, 32nd. Now, incumbent Pete Sessions actually faced no Democratic opposition in 2016. A Libertarian and Green Party candidate ran against him, but as you can expect, they didn't really give him a run for his money. So Hillary won this district by 2 points, not bad, typical suburban district, but because Sessions is such a popular incumbent, we're not ready to call it competitive yet. It could become competitive if there's a strong Democratic challenger and Sessions looks weak, but for now, we don't see it happening that much. So, what should be the statewide strategy for Democrats and Republicans? Well, for the Democrats, Hispanic and suburban turnout is key. If the Democratic Party can get Hispanics to vote in the suburbs, and also in this rural Hispanic majority area, that will be very good for them, especially when trying to rack up mass votes against Ted Cruz. The Republicans, on the other hand, need also to focus on a rural strategy, but that's mainly here, in the Texas Panhandle and in the center of the state. Now, what's important here is, even though it's rural, just like the majority Hispanic counties, it's not as democratic, these parts, as the aforementioned areas. And so, this is a great area for Republicans to, little by little, build up their base of support. That, along with hopefully campaigning on things like their tax plan, which might make them popular with conservative-leaning voters, is a good way to hold their turf and keep Texas red, or at least to the degree of red that we're looking at this election. So that's the situation going on in Texas in 2018. Keep in mind that this is just a preliminary report, and by November, things in at least one case probably will have changed, and we will be covering that in the final stretch of weeks leading up to the general election. Please join us next week, where we will be covering the extremely interesting race in Pennsylvania's 18th Congressional District. So thanks for watching, and remember, don't forget to vote.